Welcome back, everybody. How are we doing today? Let's do a video on Narcissus, because that already hasn't been done to death by the other content creators. But I'm here to show you that there's a lot more to this guy than meets the eye. Now, if you went for Narcissus, awesome. You made a smart decision, I think. If you had the resources, very good job. He definitely is the solution. Plarium sold to the community instead of nerfing Taras and Marichka. They sold us the solution, which it's not 100% counter, right? Let's just get it out of the way now. He is not like 100% the you pick him and they're done. It's not how that works. You still get your butt cheeks clapped. Uh, you know, 50-50, I'd say. It's not a complete wash now. Um, but let's go over some information on Narcissus that you may not know that the community has found out through a lot of testing and through a lot of trial and error, right? So let's get into it. Let's look at his abilities quick. His A1 attacks an enemy. When booked, it's a 50% chance to increase the cooldown of one of the target skills by 2 turns. It cannot be resisted if Wight, Queen, Ancora is on the same team. Now, what really drove a lot of players to go for Narcissus was we just fused Ancora, and she's a very, very, very good support by herself. And then her husband comes out, and you're like, pretty good, right? So we went for him. His A2 Desecration Blast books to a 3-turn cooldown, and let me tell you, this cycles like a lot, especially with his A3, but we'll get to that. He'll attack all enemies, he'll ignore 25% of their defense, and then places an extra hit on any targets with shield or strengthened buffs, right? So we know definitely one person that does that both at the same time, and that is Marichka, right? Marichka does both of those things. But also, Wight, Queen, Ancora does this as well when Narcissus is on the team. She'll always put up a shield, but if he's on the team, she gives everybody strengthen and cleanse. It's all in one move. It's fucking great. Okay, so let's look at the second part here, this little paragraph. This paragraph is very misleading, and we'll talk about it. Damage inflicted by this skill cannot be decreased by enemy passive skills or masteries, except by the passive skills of bosses. Damage inflicted by this skill cannot be increased by either this champion's masteries or ally passive skills, except when attacking bosses. Okay, now all that to say, it's coded wrong. Like it's been found out that this isn't coded right. It works against Taras, and that's who it's meant to work against because it shuts his fucking passive off. Because Taras will reduce the damage he receives by 50%. It's all bullshit. We all fucking hate it unless you have a Taras, and then you really love it, right? Being the monkey with the rock has a lot of benefits, right? This doesn't work against, now read here, right? Masteries except by the passive skills of bosses. Passive skills. You would think, okay, it's gonna ignore Harima's passive. Absolutely does not. How about Rhodos? Nope, not that one either. It really only works against Taras, okay? Which is fine. I went for this guy because I myself was tired of losing Taras and Marichka in Live Arena. I went for this guy and I've been climbing. I'm like mid gold 2 right now. I'm going to attempt to get to gold 3 just to get Quintus, and then I'll just coast. I'll do my live arena matches, but I'm not going to like push hard, right? Because after you hit the top of gold 2 to get the last Quintus like fusion pieces, you really don't need to do much else. But this does book to a 3-turn cooldown, but like I said, none of that, Harima passive still works against him, which she is, by the way, a hard counter against anybody picking Narcissus. Harima will shut you down. It doesn't work against Rhodos, right? And another thing on this here, it says masteries and passive skills of allies do not affect this damage. This does get affected by Helm Smasher, right? So that's still what you should pick when you go down the offense tree. Helm Smasher. He is an arena nuker anyways, right? And then this A3. This A3 is great, but again, we got spaghetti coding here, and it really fucks his champion over sometimes. So it's a 4-turn cooldown when booked. It'll attack an enemy twice, increases the damage inflicted by the skill by 10% for each buff on the target. It stacks up to 50%. And by an additional 10% for each buff on this champion, stacks up to 50%. So if, let's say, 5 buffs on them, 5 buffs on Narcissus, that's 100% extra damage. Pretty fucking big, and it hits twice, right? Hits twice. No matter what, okay? Without Ancora on the team or not, I shouldn't say no matter what, but this attack, if it kills a target that has 3 or more buffs under it, it will place, now this is very important wording here, a block revive debuff, okay? Now, if you've been playing the game for a while, you really didn't realize that block revive was a debuff. And this champion is the only champion that procs polymorph with this skill. you can kill another champion, or it stops you mid kill, right? And putting a block revive on them, and it will polymorph Narcissus. Yep. So you have Wukong's, which the favored blessing for a Wukong right now is polymorph, because he gets all the benefits of damage, none of the drawbacks, plus he gets the benefits of having CC on him. Okay. And it also fucks people up in live arena when they look at you and go, you go pick one Wukong 5-star polymorph. They go, must be a support Wukong, right? Absolutely not. That is probably damage or support. Doesn't matter. But this will trigger a polymorph on your character. So heads up there. So again, this is what everybody assumes to be coded wrong, or they couldn't fix the coding, and that's why they just put this little text here as a debuff to be like, well, he has to have some drawback, right, guys? You know, right? It's Plarium, whatever. Also grants an extra turn if this kills an enemy when White Queen and Korra is on the same team. So like I said, this, when you're just like, boom, 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 cracking bitches, and you're coming back around, boom, and then you get back to Desecration Blast again. Boom, fast. His multipliers are great too, by the way. It's nothing to fucking, shake your nose at. And then he has this passive here. This champion will receive 50% less damage when attacked by enemies, including bosses and their minions, out of their active turn. Okay? Again, that's against Tarask and Marichka, right? But here's another thing. If White Queen and Korra is on the same team, he will receive no damage when attacked out of their turn. So definitely, you bring these two couple in against Tarask and Marichka couple, and I've seen it happen where he takes no damage. Taras attacks him outside the turn when Marichka targets him. Nothing. Doesn't matter. But then he also ignores shield and strengthen buffs. Right? So he doesn't break the shield buff, and he double hits under anybody that has shield or strengthen on. It's pretty fucking good. His base stats are great. HP base, he's an HP damage dealer if you didn't see. Boom, HP, HP, HP. And then base HP 23, almost 24,000. His base defense is very decent. Base speed is great, especially for a nuker. It's 101. He has, the basic increased crit damage. He has a little extra resistance, which is nice. And then base crit rate, right? We go over and we look here. Everybody loves him, right? And by the way, he is good in more places than just Live Arena, and that's what I want to show you today. So let's get out of there. What'd that take? That took like 7.5 minutes, so I apologize. We'll put a timestamp if you want to jump away from that. But let's just take a look here. We are going to go to Nightmare Campaign, and I'm going to show you something kind of cool. We'll go down to Stage 6 Nightmare. Boom, we're going to take our boy out. We will filter for Narses, avoid HP, done. Now watch this. I'm going to let him go, right? And he's going to farm Nightmare Campaign. And he does it pretty decently fast, I do have to say myself. Okay, he decreased the cooldown there because he did so much damage. That was his Cycle of Violence proc, if I remember right. And then there we go. 11-second farm on Nightmare Campaign. That's pretty fucking good, right? Pretty good. Pretty decent is what the kids would say, okay? So he can farm Nightmare Campaign. He can also farm Minotaur by himself. If I go down here, I take out Wukong. Yes, I did get a second of Charizia off camera. I apologize. I just did a random 10 pull during this champion chase tournament and got lucky. But let's go boom, boom, HP, right? Let's put Narcissus there. All these guys have masteries. So let's reset the filters. Let's look at our 5 stars. Why not? Let's put our boy here. Narcissus will, by the way, double hit the Minotaur boss because of the passive buff that he gets. That counts as, I think it's coded as a shield or a strengthen buff. I can't tell, but it must be coded as a strengthen because it reduces the damage the Minotaur boss takes. Okay. Now, he isn't the fastest at farming Minotaur, but he is fast. I mean, he is the Swiss Army knife in this. And he also does other things too, other than farm solo Minotaur, farm Nightmare Campaign, beat ass in Live Arena. Let me show you something else. Look at that, 31 seconds. I mean, my fastest is 14, but pretty good. Pretty good. Where's Monkey? Monkey is the one I have farmed this now. Okay. He double hits Hydra boss. Okay, no matter what. So I don't know what it is. I do know what it is. It's the coding. The coding is garbage. But I was using him on Brutal for like a test run for damage. and he was actually keeping up with Tumezia. Now, the longer that fight goes, the less he's going to keep up with Tumezia, right? It's just how HP burn works. Scales with HP and scales over time, damage and all that, because it's really consistent. But Narses does double hit the Hydra boss when he does his Desecration Blast, and I can only think it's because how the passive damage reduction is built into the heads, because they all have that passive damage reduction from AoE attacks, right? So there you go. Narses can and will do great things for you. Now let me just show you my build for him, but we'll also go to Arena. Live Arena's up right now. We could get a game in, but I won't. But I have this defense set up for Classic Arena because I'm going to push for Plat today and hopefully get my first Plat finish. So if you see this on Monday, maybe check in on me, see if I'm doing okay. We'll see. But yeah, we have Ancora, Yumiko, Lydia, and Wight King Narses. Now I took this team idea from Shinny. If you ever want to know like Narses legit content, by the numbers, breakdown, big brain shit, go look at Shinny. I love that guy. He's great. Look at this. Now, a lot of these teams aren't like real teams. This is actually a pretty decent team. This here's a pretty decent team. This here's a pretty decent team. But, yeah. And I'll tell you right now, I had one-man defense Narses set up, and he was winning fights. Yeah, it's just crazy. He just deals so much damage. We could do a quick one here. This is actually a pretty decent go-second team. Eric's is actually that champion is just a pain in the ass. Now, hopefully on Tuesday when we have our double the chances on Soulstone events, hopefully I can get a soul for him and put it on him. I got him on my wish list. And if you're wondering what blessings you should put on Wight King Narses, if you can't get him to 6-star, Cruelty is not bad. If you can get a 5-star or better, Polymorph isn't bad either because they will try to target him. This is just how the fight goes. Full auto. My hands are up here. There you go. Now that did take a little bit of time, but that's all right. Now, before I show you Narses, you need to understand that I spent a lot of time farming up gear and ascending gear and trying to get them perfect the last week after I got him because he ended up becoming my main nuker for Arena, period. Okay, so let's look at my Narses. Oop, nope, not that one. All the pieces of gear are ascended and almost perfectly ascended. Okay, the stats are as such: 96,000 HP, 3,000 defense, 229 speed, 273 crit damage. That can actually go up to like 285, I think, when I get the right ascension on the gloves, but then I'd lose too much in HP, and I don't want to I don't want to give up survivability and damage for just damage, right? And you shouldn't either. This can actually get redone to HP, which would be great. Crit damage for crit damage. This needs to be HP and not resistance. But I do wish I had a better banner, but this banner is actually really fucking good. I had it on Eric's for a while, and I never booked her, and I probably should because she's still great in Arena. But this here, I could actually swap this over to, I think it's like 20% crit damage, but then I'd lose so much in HP. Chest, HP for HP. Again, I wish I had like 2 rolls in speed and not accuracy here, or at least crit damage. Speed with speed, right? And these are rare, so we can obviously get upgrades later on. Defense for defense, but we can get that over to speed, or I'm sorry, to HP. HP. Now, I was really bummed out because I didn't realize one of the very few ways you can up Narses' damage with gear is by putting cruel gear on him, right? I didn't realize that, and it's only because you ignore 5% more defense. Attack percent doesn't matter, right? Obviously, but it's the ignoring 5% more defense. And then this is just a great piece. It's triple crit rate roll with speed, and obviously we can get these perfectly glyphed. Get that up to an 8, get that to an 8, get that to +8, right? So there are definitely upgrades we can get for my guy here. And like I said, going down to blessings, if you get him 6-star, Crushing Rend is probably the way to go, right? He's going to ignore another, what is it here? For every 10 levels, so you ignore another 6% defense, which is going to give him the most damage boost. But you can also put him under Heaven Crest, okay? If you have him in a go second team with a lot of buffs. You can also put him under Cruelty, like I said, right? You just start ignoring the damage, and over time, it's like a pseudo Harima kind of thing. Ward of the Fallen to make him tankier and so he survives more often. Or you get a 6-star on him and you say, fuck it, and you just put Polymorph on him, because even after all the nerfs, it's still too broken for the game. And that, my friends, is one of the biggest sadnesses in this game, is Polymorph is still too broken. Too broken. I really don't know what the right solution is for that, but there you are. You could also put Commanding Presence on him if you're feeling cheeky, or Chainbreaker. Soul Reap's great now. Yeah, I wouldn't put Life Harvest on him. You actually want this on your supports because it makes them take more turns faster. All right. But there you go. There's Wight King Narses. That's my Wight King Narses. And hopefully I've shown you some cool stuff today. Yeah. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.